Hello everyone, hope you're having a good day. Today is Monday, beginning the month of December. We wrap up the 2014 year, of course. And to wrap it up for this year, as far as my own videos I'm going to do, I'm basically going to give you some book review videos. It's the Christmas season, you're going to be buying stuff for family members and friends and stuff, so I'm hoping maybe these reviews will kind of give me some good ideas, particularly for those that you know that are into reading. And overall, books I'm going to review too are ones that I have read personally and have, in different ways, depending on the book of course, have definitely received a good download from the Lord from them. I try to pick out ones, because I've read several, I try to pick out kind of a variety, kind of touch on different things, as well as kind of get a good, 4 or 5, 6 authors into you. Today, and tomorrow actually, I want to discuss a couple books that I have read from A.W. Tozer. Just a little background for you. Of course, you can get on websites like Wikipedia or just search A.W. Tozer on Google or something, and you can find about all the information you would like to on Mr. Tozer. A.W. was a minister in Chicago, Illinois, while he was alive. He died in 1963. In the process of his lifetime doing ministry and pastoring, he also wrote a number of books. I was come to find out that there's actually some unpublished works that he had wrote that is in the process of being published and put out on the bookshelves for you to buy. I'm not sure how many of these books there are. I'm going to guess, if I had to just guess, probably a good 4 or 5 books that haven't been published that are going to be published. The one today that I'm going to talk specifically about is called Knowledge of the Holy. Now, this was the first book of A.W. Tozer's that I personally had read. One thing I am going to comment very highly about A.W. Tozer on is his stuff is deep, and it takes, I personally felt like, some time to meditate on his writings. Fortunately, the 2 books that I'm going to present to you all, they're short. They were no more than 120 to 150 pages, making each chapter, about 10 pages long tops. And it took some meditating. I mean, I didn't even necessarily, I definitely only read about 1 chapter a day in both these books, Knowledge of the Holy being one of them. But also, there was, in some chapters, I waited a couple of days before reading the next. Very deep stuff compared. Now, when I say this, I'm not trying to, slap any modern day minister or minister who's wrote some books in the face by this comment. I'm not at all. I've gotten some good nourishment, good word from the Lord through some books that I'll be presenting to you. But Mr. Tozer's stuff, it has a deeper level of I don't even know what to call it. It's got a deeper weight to it, a deeper level of insight, it seems like. They were just very different. Very different. And it was really neat, particularly to me. What was even cooler about them is, again, A.W. died in 1963. This is 2004. So we're looking at 50-some years here in the future now, and what I found in both these books that I've read was as relevant today as it was when he wrote it. Well, the scary things about what I read, though, was he in both books, definitely in Pursuit of God, which is what I want to share with you tomorrow. Mr. Tozer dealt with some, what he referred to as heresy teaching that was occurring in the time that he wrote these books that is still prevalent today. So what that's prevalent today, and that I'm hearing it and seeing it, and also some of the books from some modern authors that I've read, they're dealing with some of the same heresy teaching. So what's that tell me? It tells me that more than likely, since we have a time gap there, Mr. Tozer's writing about this stuff from the 40s and 50s and 60s, maybe even the 30s, and here it is again 60, 70, 50 years on down the road, and we're still having to address these particular problems. So chances are, with that amount of time that's passed, the conditions probably gotten worse. And that's sort of kind of a very concerning aspect to it. I'm going to review these knowledge of the holy. What I want to do as far as reviewing the books is read you a section out of it, kind of give you my take of the book, what it did for me. Then leave it at that. Hopefully that'll be enough to kind of click with you and make you want to pick up the book yourself and read it, which is really my goal more than anything with this, is to get you to go get the book yourself and read it. I know, for example, Knowledge of the Holy here, I got it for like 99 cents or $1.99 for my e-reader, for my Kindle here. Pursuit of God, which I'll talk to you about tomorrow, I think I actually got for free when I first downloaded it. So you can find these older saints books relatively cheap that I've come to notice, particularly if you get e-reader books. I'm going to read you just the first chapter here in Knowledge of the Holy. Now he begins each chapter, Mr. Tozer does, with the prayer. I'm going to get right into what he writes about for the chapter. The particular chapter 1, is called Think Rightly About God, and I've mentioned some of what I'm going to read here in some of the videos I did. Mr. Tozer writes, "What comes into our minds when we think about God is the most important thing about us. The history of mankind will probably show that no people has ever risen above its religion, and man's spiritual history will positively demonstrate that no religion has ever been greater than its idea of God. Worship is pure or base as the worshiper entertains high or low thoughts of God. For this reason, the gravest question before the church is always God himself, and the most portentous fact about any man is not what he at a given time may say or do, but what he in his deep heart conceives God to be like. We tend by a secret law of the soul to move toward our mental image of God, what we actually visually see God as. This is true not only of the individual Christian, but the company of Christians that composes the church. Always the most revealing thing about the church is her idea of God. just as her most significant message is what she says about him or leaves unsaid, for her silence is often more eloquent than her speech. She can never escape the self-disclosure of her witness concerning God. We were able to extract from any man a complete answer to the question, were we able? What comes into your mind when you think about God? We might predict with certainty the spiritual future of that man. I found that very interesting. I want to read that again. What comes into your mind when you think about God? He's asking a question. And with that question, we might predict with certainty the spiritual future of that man. But that was a very bold, wise, enlightening comment he made here. Were we able to know exactly what our most influential religious leaders think of God today, we might be able with some precision to foretell where the church will stand tomorrow. Without doubt, the mightiest thought the mind can entertain is the thought of God. And the weightiest word in any language is its word for God. Thought and speech are God's gifts to creatures made in His image. These are intimately associated with Him and impossible apart from Him. It is highly significant that the first word was the Word. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. We may speak, we may speak because God spoke. In Him, word and idea are invisible. That our idea of God correspond as nearly as possible to the true being of God is an immense importance to us. Compared with our actual thoughts about Him, our creedal statements are of little consequence. Our real idea of God may lie buried under the rubbish of conventional religious notions and may require an intelligent and vigorous search before it is finally unearthed and exposed for what it is. Only after an ordeal or painful self-probing are we likely to discover what we actually believe about God. That's where I want to stop. I went about halfway there through chapter 1 for you. That, I hope, in itself was just, a little bit of what I'm trying to tell you. That what A.W. Tozer writes is very, again, it's deep. It takes some time to read, but to really absorb, what it is he is writing about, what he's talking about. I've picked up another book of his that I might eventually give a report on. It's actually a 2-in-1. It's called The Holy Spirit and the Counselor, or How to be Filled with the Holy Spirit and the Counselor. I'm really looking forward to diving into those. I really liked here, and he just digs more into it in chapter 1 about this concept of, God, as far as your relationship with God, how powerful or how weak it is will depend upon your image of God. How do you visualize God in your life and the life of other believers and even the church? The people you gather together with collectively, what their collective image of God is, will proportionately be or determine how much of an impact that church will be able to accomplish, or that the church body altogether as a collective unit will be able to accomplish to glorify the kingdom. That sums up today. We'll get back at it tomorrow. You all have a great day. God bless you.